I came to a crossroad in my career where I realized there has to be a better way, or at least I started to think there must be a better way.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
man, I looked around and I would ask questions of others like, "Hey, do you hate the idea of coming to work on Monday morning, on Sunday nights? Like, do you have the Sunday scaries thing? And do you sense the toxicity that we're surrounded by and the dysfunction that we're plagued with? Do you, or am I alone in these things?" And
Mm,
I couldn't find anybody to really be all that straight with me. There's just this growing, we all kind of grow to accept the garbage that we face in many
mm.
cases inside of the corporate world. So I had this crossroad and I decided that I wanted to lead differently.
Podcast. Our goal is to inspire and empower our listeners their best audacious lives ever. I'm thrilled to have you here with us, and I really want to thank you for taking the time to join us on this journey. Now, in the same manner lighthouse guides ships safely to shore through turbulent waters, authentic leadership illuminates the path for others to follow with trust and integrity. In our interview with Kyle McDowell, we explore the essence of authentic leadership and its impact on personal and professional growth. Kyle is a seasoned leadership consultant with over a decade of experience in guiding individuals and organizations towards their full potential. And we have the good pleasure of having Kyle join us on the podcast today. With a deep understanding of authentic leadership principles, Kyle has empowered countless individuals to lead with both courage and authenticity. In this episode, Kyle shares invaluable insights on authentic leadership and its importance in today's world. His expertise and practical advice offer a roadmap for listeners to enhance their leadership skills and create positive change in their lives. So now that we've got you all set and we're ready to go, let's jump into our conversation with Kyle. Enjoy. Hey, Kyle, thank you for joining me here on the Audacious Living podcast. I appreciate you, my friend, for making the time to do this.
Audley, man, it is really great to be here. The pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is good. As I said earlier, this charges me the opportunity to have and engage in such powerful dialogues and conversations, right? Stuff that can really make impact in people's lives. And so, and again, so thank you for being, agreeing to sit on my platform to do this and do this with me, help me even fulfill my mission a little bit here. So I appreciate that.
Of course. I just hope I bring the same level of energy that you bring. It's palpable, my friend. So that makes it easy to be on this side of the desk. So thank you again.
There's lots to share, so I'll do my part. You just gotta lap it up. That's all you gotta do.
Right
There we
on.
go. So you spent a lot of time in the leadership space and really developing and encouraging leaders sort of get to that better place, if you will. And the guy I tell you, Kyle, I truly, and not trying to get a good side here, but leadership is one of my favorite topics. It really is because of the ability to have the kind of impact that it does.
Impact. Yeah.
The piece I really and I appreciate about the leadership, like the topic, if you line up 10 people and you say, hey, what is leadership to you? You're probably gonna get 10 different responses
Yeah.
because each individual is kind of giving from their perspective or their viewpoint and their experience even, right? And they're not all the same. And the best part about it is that they're all right. Like every single person is right. And so it really shows you how leadership, it's so unique and so powerful. And there's nothing else like it. And at the same time, it makes such a tremendous difference. So I did all that preamble. Why don't we give you an opportunity to speak about yourself and get our chance, give ourselves, our listeners, a chance to know about you and the work that you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So you and I were chatting before you touched record, and similar to you spent 30 years in public service. I
Mhm.
spent about that same amount of time, 28 years in corporate America.
Got you.
I was fortunate enough to lead really massive organizations and teams. So just for context, my last two roles, I led north of 30,000 employees, responsible for multi-billion dollar P&Ls. But like so many of us, regardless of the rank or title, the position you sit with inside of an organization, I believe we all enter the workforce with a great amount of passion. We want to make an impact. We want to find fulfillment, right? We want to do big things. But I also believe for most of us throughout our career journey, that desire and those wants, they fade, and we
Yes.
lose sight of the desire to have an impact, the desire to find fulfillment. And man, I was no different. In spite of leading really big organizations and having all the fancy titles and all the
Yep.
rewards that come with, ascending inside of the corporate world, I found myself, and it took a while, probably closer to year 20 of that journey, where I started to feel a growing sense of apathy. I
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
I just felt disconnected, and that's a tough spot to be in, because in many cases I was the one who created those environments that I was starting to loathe.
Hmm.
And I came to a crossroad in my career where I realized there has to be a better way, or at least I started to think there must be a better way.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
man, I looked around and I would ask questions of others like, "Hey, do you hate the idea of coming to work on Monday morning, on Sunday nights? Like, do you have the Sunday scaries thing? And do you sense the toxicity that we're surrounded by and the dysfunction that we're plagued with? Or am I alone in these things?" And
Mm.
I couldn't find anybody to really be all that straight with me. There's just this growing, we all kind of grow to accept the garbage that we face in many
Mm.
cases inside of the corporate world. So I had this crossroad, and I decided that I wanted to lead differently. And
Gotcha.
I timed that decision with taking on a new role. So it was back about 2007, and I took on this role leading 15,000 employees. You talk about public service. It was to lead the Affordable Care Act enrollment center, so Obamacare,
Gotcha.
as
Yeah.
well as
Yeah.
1-800 Medicare. So I
Yeah.
led the telephonic enrollment functions for those
That's
two
huge. Yeah.
huge programs, right?
Absolutely.
Doing a lot of really good things for a lot of really good people that needed it, that need the help. But anyway, so when I took that role, I was very clear with the fellow that hired me that I wanted to lead in a way that I had never led, and I wanted to drive a cultural transformation, which was, I think, partly why I was attracted by their. They had a headhunter that found me, and anyway, so I took the role, and the
Hmm.
night before I was going to meet with the top 40 or 50 leaders of this newly inherited organization, I said, I had this kind of internal gut check moment. It's like, okay, dude, you said you wanted to lead differently.
That's
You
right.
wanted to
That's what you
you wanted to
wanted.
reconnect with that fulfillment and
Yep.
impact and those things. How are you going to do it? And with no pre-planning, that night I just started to scribble on my laptop these the things that I wanted us to be known for. I wanted
Hmm.
us to be known for a collective team rather than a bunch of individual superstars, because we
Right.
had some superstars. And with no pre-planning, I ended up with 10 sentences. They each began with the word "we." So I'm not super creative. So I now have the 10 weaves, which ultimately became the foundation for my USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller. And it's changed my life in ways that I never predicted. So now my I call it my second chapter or my doctorate of my career, where
I love it.
I just travel speaking the value of principle-based leadership, the importance of a we orientation inside of our leadership ranks and in organizations more broadly. And I've never been more fulfilled than I am right now with this mission. So that's what brings us together.
The concept of we, I love it. I really,
Yeah.
really do. I mean, talk about a uniting uh, two words. Like what does it better than those two words? We, like
Yeah.
we are in this together,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's I think there's a lot. And leaders really need to be mindful of this because the concept of we, I was gonna say it should be a given, and I hate to use the word "should be," but the
Yeah.
concept of
Oh
we,
yeah. Yeah.
it should
It's
be a
simple.
given, and you
Yeah.
think it's a given, but it's
Yeah.
not always that way.
Yeah.
And I think we're leaders when you see where leaders maybe have missteps or falter is they're not staying true to this thing that they say that we are. So
Mm.
we are
Mhm.
this, but I'm gonna do something slightly different.
Yeah.
That's blurring the message, and all of a sudden, you know, the wheels are falling off and trains off the tracks at this point, right? So it's so
You are
important that
so,
to be
brother, you
aligned, I
are
guess what I'm
so
trying to say.
spot on.
Yeah.
So spot on. And by the way, so when I took this role, I learned very quickly. This is back in 2017, I should add.
Okay.
When I took the role, I realized that, or I learned early on that the team that my direct reports, they had an average tenure of like 12 years. My direct leadership,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
they had forgotten more about their roles than
Absolutely.
I knew.
Absolutely.
So I knew if I'd come in with this, bravado of here's what I was going to do and how my experience was going to, right? It would have fallen flat. So it occurred to me that I needed them for me to be
Yep.
successful in this role. I absolutely needed them. And I felt
Yep.
as if I brought experiences to the table that would further their objectives and help
Yep.
them kind of reconnect with their passion and purpose. So I felt like they needed me as well. But you just pointed out what I think is almost the entire reason for leaders, otherwise known as bosses,
Yep.
having less than the impact they can have. And that is this double standard that I call the leadership gap. It's where, I set a standard and evangelize this and tell you how we're going to behave and how we are going to, here's who we are. Yet at the
Yeah.
first bit of adversity, I resort to this banging my fist on the desk
Right.
and it's all
Yep.
about me.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and that's ego driven, right? We all know that the boss who must be right, they must have the last word. They're not open to other points of feedback. That's
Yep.
clearly ego driven. And,
Yep.
and, and that's where I spend a lot of time is trying to get leaders to see the value that comes from a we orientation versus, being the superstar at the end of the table.
I want to add to that because I do agree with you. It's ego driven, but I also want to give just a little bit of grace, in by saying that some of that's fear driven as well too, right? Fear in terms of
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
in terms of can I do this job? So like, for example, if you're subject to the imposter syndrome, you've already got stuff going on in your head already, and if you
Yeah.
feed into that, and you're then prone to make these fear-based decisions that will contradict the standard that you've established, that here's how we will move going
So
forward.
true. Yeah.
And so I want to give just a little bit of that because I know it exists. I would also say, by and large, that ego, to your point, is what's driving a lot of this, because I want to look good. I want to get the props and all the glory that comes with the job that everyone else did. I
Yeah.
want to excel my own stuff. There's a bunch of that too, no question. But I
Yeah.
throw in a little bit of fear, just a little
I,
bit.
you know, I would, I don't disagree with you, but I would, if you would allow me, and I would love to disagree with you actually, because I just think it proves
Yeah,
that we can still have a great conversation.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I would maybe ego slash insecurity rather than fear, because fear is something that to me, fear implies that I've got a boss above me that's now not allowing me to be me or allowing me to be my best me. The insecurity, I think, just kind of positions it differently in that, yeah, my ego is forcing me to behave in ways that are not authentic, but it's the insecurity about my ranking or my knowledge, my ability to have an impact. That insecurity is what drives a lot of behavior. And maybe we're splitting hairs, but either way, it's
Oh,
it's
we totally are 100%. And
yeah,
I
maybe
because
yeah,
I have to come back and
perhaps.
say no fear. Like I have to come back and say, like, adversity, like that's a big one, right? When you face
Yeah,
challenging times where you don't know, when you're uncertain, right? Fear can be derived from that.
right on. Good
And
point.
so we're I think we're both right. So we'll both get
Yeah,
the gold star here, right? But I think the point is that both are contradictory to the
yeah.
leadership framework that's been established. And I think
So true.
that's
Love
what
it.
really the point is there.
Yes, sir. Love that. And I think that's a lot of my work today is trying
Mm,
to just to get those, because let's not forget, at least in the States, for decades, if not centuries, um, the boss was the only person really allowed to have an opinion. The boss was the only one really allowed to issue challenges. And those days, boy, are they behind us now? You can lead with an iron fist and be successful, but
totally.
that has a short shelf life.
That's right.
For longer term, sustaining results over a long period of time, the more you can involve those around you and encourage those opinions and have a healthy debate and have
Yes.
disagreements. One of my
Yes.
10 principles is we challenge each other, which is incredibly important. If you want to be the best, if you at least pursue excellence, we've got to have the best ideas on the table. And that only
Yep.
comes via challenge, not one person dictating how we're gonna
Yep.
proceed, you know?
Yep. And that's why I'm such a big fan of diversity in the workplace, but for the right
Mm,
reasons, right?
yeah,
Not diversity to check the boxes and say,
good
hey,
for
we've
you.
got everything covered.
Yeah,
Diversity from the divergence of opinions, divergence of viewpoints, divergence of thoughts, because that makes the conversation richer, right?
so true.
That makes it all so much more richer, and you allow the team as a whole to grow and
Yeah,
develop, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you and that's why, and so it's going to go to another layer here, but that's why the it's so important that leaders establish that environment where, hey, look, throw your stuff on the table, let's see what you got.
Hmm.
Because you could go out and get yourself a very diverse group of people, right? That all think differently and all have different experiences and all that kind of stuff. But if they're in an environment where they don't feel they're going to put their stuff on the table, they're not going to do it.
Right.
So you might as well forget the diversity and just have a bunch of yes people because
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
feel safe to share.
Yeah, and when you say that, I think one word pops into mind, and that's authenticity. We want, right. We hire diverse. We make diverse hiring decisions because we want diverse opinions. We should
Mhm,
want diverse perspectives because
mhm.
there's no way one person can have all the right answers, regardless of how big or small the team is. So I like to say authenticity plus relatability equals trust. And the foundation for any effective leadership, regardless if it's the bowling team, the chess team, the football team, doesn't matter. If you're in a leadership position, by definition, you have followers, but no one's going to follow you if they don't trust you. So I think those diverse perspectives are incredibly important.
Yep.
And that's why I was so adamant to include a principle in the 10 We's, like we challenge each other because I want challenges coming from every direction, from peer to
Gotcha.
peer, from leader to
Yep.
team, from team member up to leader, leader to bigger leader, whatever. It's got to come from every direction because we
Yep.
want those perspectives. But no one's going to come, no one's going to, like you say, no one's going to bring those perspectives if they feel as if it's going to be met with retribution or it's going
That's
to be
right. That's
dismissed
right.
without consideration,
That's right.
right? It's just got to be, and that's why we got to have this two-way street where people understand their opinions are wanted and they need to be
Mhm.
heard.
Yeah. Uh, let's talk a little bit about authenticity for a moment here, because I think if there's an opportunity for leaders to sort of have the biggest impact, in my viewpoint here, I think it starts with authenticity. Like that's the easiest pathway for them to be able to connect, to relate, to empathize, all of these things, right?
Yep.
With the people that they're leading. There is still um, cautiously say a right way and a wrong way to do that. Like you can be authentic, um, and maybe you're an authentic jerk, right? But you're
Yeah.
really authentic,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
you still can cause some damage and harm. So I wonder if you sort of talk about just that in general, authenticity, and how how important for leaders to be able to demonstrate that.
Man, I think it's a superpower. As I mentioned, authenticity and relatability, and I'll go a little bit deeper on that. So you brought up a good example earlier when we as an organization or as a team are facing challenges, when the boss acts as if those challenges should not be, we shouldn't be concerned about them, or we shouldn't even acknowledge that they exist. Like that's not relatable. So members on the
Right.
team, they see this, they're concerned when the boss says, no big deal. Relatability is out the window. But I want to be able to be authentic and say, in some ways, you might even be able to substitute authenticity for vulnerability in this
Okay.
context. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when I am vulnerable enough to say I don't have all the right answers, I am concerned about this challenge or this threat that we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've come to, there's a sweet spot in there that says, oh man, this person I report to, he's human. He has concerns like the rest of us. He doesn't necessarily have. He says point blank he doesn't have the answers. And I say to those that I have been fortunate enough to lead, or now in my coaching business, it's like you may not always like what I have to say,
Right.
but you'll know there's no motive behind it. It is exactly how I feel, and you're not just allowed to disagree. You're obligated to disagree when you
Mm,
have a dissenting opinion because nobody wants to move forward with a strategy, a decision, a play, whatever the right word is. Nobody wants to move forward with people half in. So, and people are going to be half in if if they're not allowed to voice a dissenting opinion. So I want to be authentic. Yeah. and I stumbled across this clip from Seth Godin recently, who said
Okay.
most people don't want authenticity. And I couldn't disagree more. And I have a lot of respect for Seth Godin. He said, when leaders have a bad day, the team doesn't really want them to be authentic. And I think that's BS. I think when my leader's having a bad
Really? Yeah.
day, I would love to know that,
Huh.
because I want to know again, what is concerning them is real, and I am okay for feeling that same way, but also the relatability concept. So when the leader shows up with a smile every single day, that's not authentic, and I can't relate to that. Therefore, trust is not going to follow.
So I agree with you, and I want to add to that because yeah, if that's where Seth is going, I can't buy into that one
Yeah.
because they're so a piece of authenticity that I think is very that ties nicely is transparency, right?
Amen.
And I get there's some things that a leader can't be transparent with, but they do even have the ability to identify what they can't be transparent with and still showing transparency. So it's like I can tell you this, but there's maybe some other decisions that senior manager needs to be made that I can't speak to, but this is like so you're still being transparent without giving away the farm, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, when you allow, it's almost like so if there's some people in the world that are motivated and they like to help people, right? That charges them. I love to do this podcast
Yeah.
and I love to be able to share in the manner I do. That charges me. Well, if as a leader, I'm having a bad day and I'm able to be vulnerable and say for a moment, guys, I'm challenged with this today, is not really good.
I'm struggling.
There, there could be someone in your team that could help you
That's it.
and be able to
That's it.
not only just assist you, but empower themselves. So
That's it.
there's a part of this where it's almost like if you let people help you, you're actually doing them a favor, right? And there's so much truth to
Beautifully
that.
said.
So I
Beautifully said.
think by being closed and not transparent and not being authentic, right?
Mhm.
You're missing out on an opportunity, I believe. And because that those are the little things that can galvanize teams,
So
right?
true.
To know that, imagine this for a moment. I went to work today, honey, and my boss was struggling with something, and I was able to go in there and save the day and help him out and made a difference and turn things around, and we had a great day.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It's so everybody won in that scenario.
Yes, yes,
Everybody wins. But that's
yes.
back to ego and allowing and not just allowing, but encouraging those around you to
Yes,
play that role.
yeah,
Like, I don't
yeah.
have the answers. I am concerned. I need help.
I am worried.
I am worried, right?
Yeah,
Nobody will follow someone that pretends to have all the answers
that's right.
and they're not relatable. So
That's
yeah,
right.
well said. But you also made a comment there that I honed in on, which I think is so important to revisit, and that
Mhm.
is, you said some people, and I believe it's in all of us.
Okay.
It's just suppressed for whatever variety of reasons. It's in our DNA, man. We are wired and built to help others.
Yep.
We are. It's a
Yep.
fact.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
tribal by nature.
Yep.
It's throughout the history of mankind. But for
And
some
you're right.
reason,
I know you're sorry to cut you. I think you're absolutely correct with you. I guess where I was looking at, there's some people who are driven by that. Like there's some
more
people that are
so than
like
others, facts.
level 10, right? Where we
Yes.
all want to help,
Yes.
but some people are like way up here, and it's almost their existence it's a
Yes.
big part of their existence to help. So yeah, those are the
Well
ones.
said. Very
But you're
nuanced, but
correct,
you're absolutely right. You're one of those people. I'm one of those people,
right?
right? Because there's no better feeling, first of all, right? To really empower somebody and help them on their journey, however big or small. To
Yep.
me, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yep.
Um, but what's happening inside the workplace, it's only gotten worse over the last handful of years, is for some reason, we lose that bit of humanity that is so deeply ingrained inside of us when we
Yes.
step into the workplace.
Yes.
And that's when we filter our opinions. We even speak differently. We handle ourselves differently. And through all of that suppression of those feelings, thoughts, emotions, behavior, also is lost. We also lose that that fiber of wanting to help others.
Yes.
And what a shame, because anyone that's had any amount of success are the first people to tell you, I never did this alone. Yeah, I worked my ass off and I put in the effort, but I never would have gotten here if it weren't for this person, that person, this team, whatever.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I wanted to go back to that because I think it's such an important point. We are wired, and we should all, I think, try to reconnect with that wiring to
Yes.
help others inside the workplace and then outside, of course.
And it's just a kind thing to do. Why not? Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this, brother, to be honest with you, the first 20-ish years of my career, I didn't lead that way. I didn't think that way.
Okay.
I was raised to think that the boss is the be all end all, knows everything.
Sure.
And the level of success that I saw early in my career told me that that was the right approach. So I continued to do that. And then the apathy set in, and the disconnected feelings and feeling like there had to be a better way ultimately was the most palpable set of emotions I had.
So what changed for you?
Well, a divorce
Okay.
played a role in that, because I was working so much. My work was my identity. My identity was my work.
Yeah.
My health started to really suffer. And at one point, I looked around, and the people that I felt I developed strong connections with, and they had worked with me at multiple different firms. I thought they had a healthy amount of respect for me, but I learned they actually feared me, which is a
Mm.
really tough realization. So I realized,
That shocked you?
yeah, it did. It did. It was unfortunate, but everything happens for a reason. And I realized there's so much more value to be given and to receive if I were to change my entire paradigm and move away from this Kyle first. What's my next promotion? What's my
Yep.
next raise? How do I
Yep.
get the next cool title? All these things. When I stopped doing that, and I had this hunch, this we approach, and being really overt about it, by the way, like introducing concepts to people where I actually use the word we intentionally, like, hey, we're gonna have a tough conversation, right? We challenge each other, right? Like making it part of my daily vernacular and seeing how people recognized and how it resonated with them
Yes.
fueled me to continue to do that and expand this whole we mindset. But it had to start with some real deep feelings of apathy and disappointment and
Sure.
dysfunction. Yeah.
Sure. And I get it. In the moment, they're tough. They're not fun. They're not
Yeah.
enjoyable. They
Yeah.
suck. You want it to end
That's it.
quickly, right? All these things, and it's difficult to be able to say, "Oh, on the other side, it'll get better." That's the last thing you want to hear. Actually, I'm
Right.
sure. Like, please don't give
Yeah.
me that stuff. Let me take my
So true.
and look. There's nothing wrong with taking that moment to wallow in whatever it is that you want to wallow. The key
Yep.
is not staying there. Find a way to get past and through and overcome that as quickly as possible, so you can take all those lessons from that wallowing period to make
Yeah.
yourself better.
Yeah. Well, and you know what else? What little ingredient we sprinkle into that is others. So yeah, if I'm in a tough spot, man, there's one surefire way to get out of it is to talk through it, work through
That's
it with
right.
other people, relate with their experience as
That's
well,
right.
lean on others, man, and that's where the we comes in for me.
Yeah, and so when we take that back to what we just talked about, how important it's for leaders to be transparent and authentic, there is an opportunity right there, right? Like,
Amen. Yes, sir. Yes,
those are
sir.
good.
Right
So,
on.
so you talked about the we. You said there's 10 of them.
That's right.
Like, can we talk about some of these 10 or
Would
all of
love
them or
to.
whatever?
Yeah, yeah, would love to. How would you like to run through them?
I'll follow your lead.
Okay, let's do it. So I need to give this caveat, man. It's a really important caveat. The
Sure.
10 W's are incredibly simple.
Okay.
There's nothing earth-shattering, no rocket science here. No, there are no new concept,
Well, I
but
think they need to
simple.
be, but don't they need to be? Like, they
That's
need to be
right.
simple to be digestible, understandable, and put into
So true.
practice. If I've got to take a course to understand this, like, I'm gonna
Uh,
run
and
out of
that's where
gas. I'm
and
done.
that's where I think a lot of leadership gurus get it wrong is they overcomplicate it. But I
Right.
but I share that caveat because simple does not mean easy.
Got you.
Right? Right? Like being healthy is simple, but not easy.
Right.
Right? Getting in great shape, simple, but not easy. Anything that is hard, anything that's worth having in this lifetime, is usually the result of overcoming challenges, and by definition, a challenge is not easy.
That's right.
So that's caveat one. Caveat two is we expands and grows into the next. And I'll start with the very first we, and it's
So they're in order, is what you mean? Like they're
yeah,
in
they're
succession?
in order.
Perfect.
And it'll make sense once I kind of run through them. So the very first and the most fundamental of all the we's is we number one, and that is we do the right thing, always. And I never leave out that one word second sentence, always. Now, we can disagree on what the right thing is. We can argue about it.
Yep.
And in my book, I walk the reader through a little bit of a framework to land on what the right thing is or could be. It's so subjective, but it's we certainly want our teams to be known as doing the right thing, known for doing the right thing. And by the way, when I created these principles, that was the overarching theme. It's like, let's not even talk about our client yet. We do a really good job in the corporate world of teaching people how to do their jobs, but we don't spend much time on teaching people and being direct on the expected behaviors of one another. So when I created these principles, it's like, number one, these will be the principles by which we hold each other accountable, not just the boss looking down to you, but you're going to hold me accountable for this as well. And if we're excellent behind the scenes and living these principles, the customer will feel it. We don't have to spend extra effort there, right? So we do the right thing, number one. And as a leader or anyone that's really invested in our journey, the best way to demonstrate doing the right thing is number two, we lead by example. As you know, right, you're leading by example right now. We all are. The question is not, am I leading by example? The question is, am I leading by an example that I would be proud if I saw it replicated, saw others living the same way? And for me to lead by example, I've got to be known for really, I think, one primary thing, and that is making good on my commitments. So number three is we say what we're going to do, and then we do it, right? There's no, if I miss a deliverable or something that I have been assigned or made a commitment to deliver, you will know about it well in advance. There will be no surprises on the day of, which is really kind of rampant throughout corporate America. It's like, oh, I emailed so-and-so, they haven't gotten back to me. Well, no, you made this commitment. You just because they haven't gotten back to you doesn't make it my problem. You said you would get back to me with this bit of information.
Right.
But so to kind of get the ball rolling, that brings us to number four. We take action. You know, there's a company that we've all been familiar with for many years. We've all probably bought from them at least one time, and they have a slogan that is just three words. And the slogan isn't "be the best." It isn't just go win. It's just do it. Just do it. If you see something that needs to be addressed inside of our team, if it improves the customer experience, improves the employee experience, do it. Take action. Taking action and making a mistake is okay, but being idle and letting all these troubles and these gnarly situations, no. Like the TSA says, you see something, say something. In our world, you see something, do something. We take action. But no one's going to jump out and raise their hand and say, oh, Kyle, I found this gnarly problem over here. It's been sitting there for a year, but I'm going to get after it now, unless we let them know mistakes are okay. And number five is we own our mistakes. So if I'm going to take action, if it's a gnarly problem, it's a gnarly problem because no one's addressed it, which means it's unfamiliar, or in many cases, it's uncharted water. So we got to be comfortable with mistakes, and no one's going to raise their hand and say they made a mistake unless we create that environment for them, as you mentioned earlier. So when a mistake is owned, we move right to number six. We pick each other up. We talked about this a moment ago. It's like, as an obligation, as a human, never mind the corporate world, leader, boss, whatever, we should be compelled to pick each other up. As a leader, my obligation doesn't end there. It's also a leader's obligation to propel members of the team to new heights. They want to take on a new role. They want to maybe even explore something outside of your team. The typical reaction is not one of help. It's like, how do I protect this person and keep them on my team because I need the results? What a short-sighted way of living. We got to help people get to their next thing, whatever that is. When we pick each other up, we put them in positions to be better than they were yesterday, and that feels good, right? Now, number seven starts to transition us from some of the more feel-good things to like rubber hitting the road. And number seven is we measure ourselves by outcomes, not activity. In most environments, we place a tremendous value on busyness. Too many meetings, double booked, triple booked, and we wear it like a badge of honor rather than saying, I'm so busy. What are you busy doing? Yeah, it's a badge of honor rather than saying, okay, what were you busy doing today? And can you draw a straight line from that activity to an outcome for which you've been assigned? And if you
Mm,
can't, it should be you should scrutinize that. This is, why
right.
am I doing this? Why am I sitting in this meeting if it doesn't directly contribute to an outcome that I am responsible to deliver?
Yep. Yep.
Corn Ferry did a study. It's been a couple of years now. Something like 57 respondents said they would still attend a meeting if they knew it added no value to their job. 57. And then I think like 40% said they would attend a meeting if they didn't even know what the topic was about. It just showed up on their calendar. They would just attend blindly, which is criminal. We number 8, my favorite of all the we's, but also the toughest for most to grasp, and that's we challenge each other. We talked about this a bit already. It's challenges should be omnidirectional. But now there is a rule. Challenges must be grounded in either data or experience. It
Gotcha.
can't be your opinion, right? We all have those and they don't move the needle. Like if you have a data point or you've lived this scenario before, it is your obligation to
Yep.
challenge the other
Yep.
party,
Yep.
right?
Yep. What
We
what
number 8.
what about
Please.
how about experiences based on gut? Sometimes we have those situations where it's like it just doesn't feel right, and you can't necessarily say it's this, but you just got this strong because there are decisions in the business world that are made on gut feelings, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, well, not I think, I know that that those interactions, that dialogue should be part of everything we do every day anyway.
Yep.
And it may not be represented in the form of a challenge. If it's a gut feeling, it's just like, I'm not sure about this.
Right.
You are obliged to share that gut feeling.
Right.
Where I'm focused on is a challenge. It's like, hey, we can't head this direction. Okay, we're in the middle of a product launch, and I'm responsible for the marketing of this new product. Well, I had a similar role at an organization before I joined this team. We had a similar rollout that failed miserably, and we're taking a similar approach. That's an experience. You must share that experience. Or
Gotcha.
if I have a data point that says we should shift the marketing demographic from here to there, well, the data supports this. I'm going to challenge you. Or
Yep.
it can also be peer to peer. So we're in a staff meeting, and I hear you talk through some performance of your team, but I happen to know someone on your team, and they're telling me that your readout is bogus. Well, that's experience. I talked to this person over here, and I'm
Yep.
gonna challenge you that you're not giving your best for the team. But we number 8 without we number 9 is kind of a recipe for chaos. And we number 9 is we embrace challenge. And you used a word earlier that I am so down with, and that's galvanize. Are we going to be the team that sees a challenge and runs? Or are we going to be the team that is galvanized by that challenge? We lock arms and we say, damn it, we're gonna grind through this challenge together.
Yep.
We all
Yep.
see it, we're all fearful of it, we know it's there, but we're gonna embrace it and be better for it. Because as I said a moment ago, nearly everything in this life is the result of overcoming one or more challenges, not running from them. And then the last of the 10 we's is we obsess over details. We number 10. I'm purpose to leave this one at the end because I feel like if we come out of the gate exclusively focused on details, obsessing over details, it's a recipe for disappointment.
Yeah.
And we just kind of get in our own way. But as you know, the difference between good and great, the difference between great and exceptional is usually in the details. The difference between winning a deal and not winning a deal, usually in those details. So I want our teams to obsess over them. All of our materials, our marketing, everything that we do, even behind the curtain, we are detail oriented. It's not, hey, it's just a detail or don't sweat the details. No, details are what makes us us. So that's why I think obsessing over details is a really important principle to live by.
I love all 10 of them. I want to ask about the last one. The similarities of chasing perfection or trying to be perfect.
Mhm.
Is there any similarities between that and obsessing details?
No, sir, because I am the loudest in the room to say we're not chasing perfection.
Mm.
That is a goal that is nice to achieve, and we may hit it every now and then. But aspiring for perfection is, I think it's a short path that easily disappoints. I want us to aspire for excellence,
Mm.
and the details. So, an example: when's the last time you opened a product from Apple? You recall that? Maybe you're an iPhone or
Yeah.
right. So Apple obsesses over the unboxing experience. They literally put engineers in rooms for weeks or months on end, just so you can get that little piece of tape with the arrow just right. Um, that communicates to the consumer, if the packaging is this sexy, what I'm about to open inside must be downright magical. That's a detail that they've chosen to obsess over because of the impact it has for their consumers. And our everyday lives as leaders, regardless of industry, is no different. If I place so I say, hey, Audley, can you put together a presentation to share with me on the benefits of insert whatever, right? And you come to me with this presentation, it's got typos, the margins are different, the fonts are different. You did not put enough care and energy into that product to represent you, your own brand. Like, you're better than that.
Right.
Those details are what it's going to sell to me as your leader, that your brand, you care about your brand. You know, it's almost synonymous with the level of care you put into what you do and the perception of the product that you deliver. And it starts behind the curtains. We cannot be sloppy behind the curtains and expect to deliver excellence to those we serve externally. It has to start behind the curtains. So it's not perfection. It's just an eye to detail that our competition may not have, because that's what's going to separate us.
Beautiful. I love it. No, I think all the 10 we's are bang on. I love the manner in which you tied them into each other and shown that clear path from one to the next.
Thank you.
You know,
It changed my life.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the other interesting thing too is that, you know, companies could be at different places, and so they might you know, maybe, you know, one or two they've already nailed, and they're coming in at 3. There's still a pathway to 10, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
So no, I think it's wonderful. So it respects where people are at and what they're bringing to the table, and what they're, because we're all at different. We're not necessarily at the same starting point. Like, you know, if I'm a company that's based on integrity, I'm already doing the right thing always, right?
That's right.
So I'm now moving to the next one. So no, that's fantastic. Kyle, give us the book name again. It's probably available on every single freaking book platform that's out there. But give the title of the book, so our listeners.
Essentially wherever books are sold. Begin with We. It's 10 principles for building and sustaining a culture of excellence. It's a Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller. I think Amazon is typically the easiest place to get it, but it's at Barnes and Noble, Target. I mean, basically anywhere you buy books. It's on Audible as well. And it's been quite a ride. Oddly, when I wrote the book, or decided to write the book, I remember telling my wife, man, if this thing sells 1,000 copies, I'll be over the moon. And we're about 15x that at this point, and it's just and every month continues to grow. And the unexpected benefit that I must share, it's been so profound, is the benefit that I keep hearing from readers that it's having on their personal lives, not just the business life.
Man.
If we can subscribe to these principles and everything that we do, at least for me, it's been it's been a profound change on my life on pretty much all fronts.
Amazing. And you're absolutely right. It does. It just shows you how closely connected our personal and business lives are. As much as some people want to keep them separate. No, the two worlds can't never meet. They absolutely do meet in the middle, because we're in the middle, and
That's right, my man. That's right, and that's authentic. Yep.
That's it. There we go. Ties back in. I like that loop there. I like that. Good.
We did it.
Brought it back nicely.
Yes,
Kyle,
sir.
this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you being here. For our listeners that wanted to connect with you directly, where can we send them?
Essentially, every social platform is the same handle. It's at Kyle McDowell Inc. My website is also kylemcdowellinc.com. And I appreciate you asking that. And I don't share that with the intention of chasing followers or any garbage like that. I love to hear from readers. I love to hear from people that have similar experiences or different experiences, and they need advice or guidance on how to get out of those or deal with those experiences. Sure. So I offer that in hopes that your audience will take me up on that. Reach out, and I'm here. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for making that pathway. Appreciate you for being here, Kyle. This has been fantastic. Great time. Thank you for doing the work that you. Congratulations on finding your path, and keep up the great work.
You as well, my friend. Thank you for the platform and giving me the chance to share the message. And you're doing a lot of good work as well. So I just happy to spend some time with you today.
Awesome. Hey, we're back here on the podcast. You know, authentic leadership is not just about perfection, as we heard in our conversation with Kyle, but about vulnerability and honesty. It's an embracing our true selves that we can inspire and create meaningful connections with others. As Kyle wisely puts it, true leadership starts from within, inside of us. To connect directly with him and learn more about the work that he does, please find his contact details below in the show notes, and I suggest you reach out to him for professional leadership coaching and guidance. Also, do remember his book is available. Again, it's called Begin With We, 10 Principles for Building and Sustaining a Culture of Excellence. Really want to say thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, subscribe, and share if you haven't already done so, because that is how we reach even more listeners and grow this platform. Your valuable support is incredible in helping us, again, grow and inspire others to live their most audacious lives. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.